Welcome everyone to this circle. Here we are, a new arrangement of beautiful people seeking to be community with one another. Whether we're here for the first time or the first time in a while, or we've been here many times, I think we've got too much sound in the room. My family says that to me all the time. Anyway, every time we gather here as community, and we gather to light this candle in the midst of us. And it reminds us of the Spirit that surrounds us and that is within us all. Not only in this room, not only among us, but among all people, all beings around this good earth. It reminds us of the spirit light we share, that's been shared by thousands before us, and that we recognize in each other. And as we light this candle, let's hear words from the Sufi mystic Rumi. The lamps are different, but the light is the same. So many garish lamps are in the lamp shop. Forget about them. Concentrate on the light. The light streams toward you from all things, all people, all permutations of good, evil, thought, passion. The lamps are all different, but the light is the same. Ground yourself, strip yourself down to blind, loving silence, and stay there until you can see it. You're gazing at the light with its own ageless eyes. As this light, this one light, burns in the midst of us this morning and reminds us of those ancient words of Rumi, we can join in our own words of gathering and of prayer and of intention. Let's pray with one another. We are a thankful, open, and attentive people. We are grateful for the presence of a creative spirit within, breathing dreams into our little bit of stardust. We are open to the presence of a compassionate spirit within, rooted in Jesus of Nazareth, and ever evolving in the energizing spirit within us. May we awaken to all the possibilities that our lives hold, and be stirred to grow in the ways of love, peace, and justice. As those who seek courage to create community with one another, we pray, may it be so. I brought with me a pack of things that is pretty ordinary. I brought some eggs. There's only 3 inside. I ate some. Had some for breakfast. Look at these eggs. What do you notice? Yes? What do you notice?
I noticed those the smalls and those 2 are big.
These 2 are pretty big. This one's really small. So size, they're different in size. I brought this little tiny one. And I think this one is about medium size. This one, I think, is the biggest, but not by much. What else do you notice? What else is different?
They're different colors. That one's different, that one's different, that one's different.
They are totally different colors, you're right.
I'm allergic to them.
And you're allergic to them, so that's a good thing to notice. One's brown, one's white, and one's speckled and brown. And we won't be letting Liam eat them raw. We all learned that to do today too. What else do you notice? They're different shapes. Mm-hmm. They are similar in shape, but this one is not quite as pointy as this one. That one's pointier. I can't really hold 3 up at the same time. But I could juggle them, but you wouldn't want to see that. They so would. So I'm not going to juggle them, but I thought we'd break them. Let's look inside. What we've got are 3 eggs, and when we crack them, they look just a teeny bit different, but they're all much more similar than they were on the outside. They all look much more the same on the inside than on the outside. So I don't know. I've used white eggs, I've used brown eggs, I've used speckled eggs. They all make good chocolate cakes. They really do. And that's my favorite. So I wonder if you can help me answer my next question. If you can see what we did with the eggs and saw that they're very, very much more the same on the inside than they are on the outside, do you think people are like this too?
No.
I want you to think really hard.
They're not yellow at all.
Oh, thank you. So attentive. Okay, guys, I'm waiting. Come on, let's figure this out. I'll help you along here. I'm going to put that right over here, okay? Do you all look different on the outside? You do, yeah. I see different color hair. I see different clothes. I see different shades of skin. I see lots of differences. Your eyeballs are different. Your fingers all are different. Everything seems quite different about you. Boy, that's really tempting. Here, Bonnie, eggs for you. Now, okay, let's do part 2 of the question. Let's crack you open. Ready?
I'll pass.
You'll pass? Okay. All right. Well, we won't really crack you open, but what if we did? Ah! If we cracked you open, we would see that we couldn't really tell you apart. That would be weird. But we look much more the same on the inside than we do on the outside. We're just like eggs. We're much more the same on the inside. So, I have a question then. What difference does it make if we're the same on the inside? If we're more the same on the inside, what difference does that make, do you think? If we think about ourselves, everyone, and that we're all kind of the same on the inside, just like these eggs, do you think that matters?
No.
I think maybe all the differences on our outside don't matter so much. If we're all really the same on the inside, oh, I know. Oh, that's my sign to be done. So really, all I wanted to say is that we look very different on the outside. And we have differences, and we have different ideas, and we have different opinions. But on the inside, we're all the same, and that makes a difference, because we can, if we think about that, we can treat each other much kinder, and we can be much more caring to each other, because we know we're all the same on the inside.
A reading from Luke 19, verses 1 to... Thank you. Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. When Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. "Zacchaeus," he said, "quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today." Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. But the people were displeased. "He has gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner," they grumbled. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood up and said, "I will give half my wealth to the poor, and if I have cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much." Jesus responded, "Salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. This is a story passed down to us from the first century Christian tradition. May we find wisdom for our living.
The following video is a work of a fairly large corporation. However, as sometimes happens, the ads and the work of creativity that these large companies can throw behind their ultimately advertising sometimes have something quite amazing to say. And this one particularly spoke to me because it is about music. And it's entitled The Making of Monotune, and you'll see why it's called that when we watch this short video. So from the sublime to the ridiculous, or the other way around, I'm not sure. I wanted to tell you a story about a married couple who went on a road trip. It's not autobiographical, but it could be. They stopped at a diner for lunch, and after finishing their meal, they left the restaurant and resumed their trip. And when leaving, the woman unknowingly left her glasses on the table at the restaurant. And she didn't miss them until they'd been driving for about 20 minutes. Yeah. And as they drove back to get them, the husband moaned and groaned under his breath about his wife's forgetfulness. And to her relief, they finally arrived at the restaurant. And as the woman got out of her car and hurried to retrieve her glasses, the husband rolled down his window and yelled to her, "While you're in there, would you get my hat and my credit card?" For some of us, that sounds familiar. No matter who you are, we more easily get annoyed at each other and more easily focus on the actions of another. We more readily criticize another rather than see that we're all the same and we all do the same stupid things, and we're all united in what we share with each other, good, bad, or otherwise. In many respects, the spiritual life is about opening ourselves to experiences that remind us that we are connected deeply to all things. That we can, at our best, as Rumi would say it, see beyond the garish lamps that we all are into the one light. Understanding unity is about understanding our identity. Who are you? Who am I? What is your relationship to others and all else in this world? And I think we can come to the conclusion that we're both independent beings with our own personalities, with our own style, but we're also one, united. We're all together in this effort of being humans on this planet for a short time. It's like the t-shirt that says, "I'm unique just like everybody else." As unique As we are, we can't fall for the delusion that our uniqueness is all that we are. Our uniqueness, if we think it's our full identity, might even bolster our false sense of separateness in the world. And there's a time and a place to declare we're unique, we're our own person. And it's valid, and it's helpful, and it's empowering. But the flip side of that is to say that I'm me is also to say I'm unique, I'm the only me, I'm an island, I'm alone. And wherever there's separateness from that which we desire to be apart, well, then there's suffering and there's disunity. But if you see our unique and evolving humanity as part of something greater, as part of Comm-Unity, that word is so great because it has unity in it, as part of the one light we all share, then don't our hearts and minds open to something deeper? And I think they must, because we can't just continue to declare ourselves unique. We must always find something deeper that connects us. We're both we're our own unique garish lamp, and we are the light that is all possible permutations, as Rumi would say. And unity compromises neither. But it does say, let's prioritize the one light. I was looking at these fabric banners this week as I came in here to see just what playing a middle C 40,000 times sounded like. And our space has this symbol and metaphor that I think we take for granted most times that we're in this room. Each of those squares quilted into those banners is a unique piece of fabric. Slightly different in tone, in hue, in color, in direction. And yet they're all fabric. They're sewn together. Unity assumes difference, but the difference has a higher purpose, to offer different views of the one light. And, likewise with the piano, 88 keys all tuned to middle C. Fascinating, amazing experiment, an inspiring message and point. But if we're all the same, and that's the point it's making, then the unity is false. The unity of a piano of middle Cs is not a unity. It's uniformity. But the music and the harmony created when the differences are functioning together, well, then that's music. That's unity. That's harmony. Jesus was born into a time and a culture with very rigid rules and strong, immovable boundaries, it would seem, around religious dogmas, ethnic groups, social classes, political ideologies, name it. And there were some hard and fast rules. And what makes Jesus so compelling is that he challenged those boundaries and urged people around him to do the same. We live in a different time and a different place. Our cultural, our societal, our religious, our social norms aren't quite as rigid, but there's still the sense that we hear the stories of this one who wanted to bust them, to break them, to push through them. And when Jesus tells a story, we're hearing a story through the lens of a person seeing, more often than not, the one light. Without form or boundary or defined by any apparent difference. And that was his MO, in my opinion, to see beyond the obvious. It's why we're inspired and challenged by these stories. We're inspired to see beyond what's on the outside and to look inside, to crack the egg open. It's also why we see so many accounts in the stories of Jesus about dinner parties invitations, get-togethers, even just meetings on the side of the road where who's in and who's out seems to be the topic of the story. It's where real life happens. It's where all of us have the opportunity to look closely at who's on the guest list of our lives. For his time and place, he demonstrated this spiritual attitude by seeking out people who were different than himself, people whose actions were considered corrupt, people deemed unclean, people considered enemies, people considered foreigners, and somehow he brought them into his world and offered them not only hospitality, but radical egalitarianism. So in walks Zacchaeus into the scene of this story, and no one wanted anything to do with him. He was the chief tax collector. In most everyone's opinion, the lowest of the low. Why? Because he was a Hebrew, he was one of them, and yet he was working for the Roman occupiers to collect his own people's taxes. He was given a healthy wage, but not only that, he was taking a healthy cut of the taxes he was collecting for himself, cheating his own people. And because he was doing that, it meant that he likely had not much incentive to go easy on his fellow community members. The more he collected, the more he collected. And yet he had a curiosity. We don't know why. This hated man, maybe he had a yearning for more. Maybe he was sick of the way people looked at him. Maybe in the news that a teacher was passing by, he found something to run toward, even though he couldn't quite put his finger on what he wanted to run away from. Whatever it was, he wanted to see this guy passing that he'd heard about, so he climbs a tree because he can't see. And that seemed to be enough, because Jesus spots the guy in the tree, recognizes him, and invites himself over. Zacchaeus, I'm coming over. I wonder if we can all remember the last time we had an experience of looking long and hard into someone's eyes. Once you get over the awkwardness, I mean, if you're comfortable with the person, maybe it's not awkward, but when you look into someone's eyes, you see many layers, and they come and go with this unpredictable pattern. You see color and texture and size and shape, and maybe you see a blood spot, or maybe you see a sty, or maybe you see the cataract, or maybe you see who knows what. But you get an occasional glimpse of your own reflection too. And in these moments, you get some insight into how you appear in the world to others. And in very rare moments, you see beyond all of that. And it becomes like a series of mirrors and reflections that have no end. A deep, even infinite tunnel of light. And in this moment, a great door opens a crack, I've found. And you catch a glimpse of the wholeness in which we're a part. Some kind of light that disregards the garish lamp through which it's shining. And I suspect that that's the basis of unity. You celebrate the differences, but you don't stop there. You keep looking through it, beyond it, for an underlying greater something or other. And I wonder if that's what Zacchaeus experienced when someone had the courage to look at him. You know, I'm imagining Zacchaeus, this tax collector, on the street most days, and people are probably looking away. People are probably doing what they can to avoid the stench of Zacchaeus sticking to them for a little while. But someone had the courage to look at him and not see the garish lamp. Not the cheat, not the traitor, not the oppressor, but rather to see in it, through it, beyond it, deeper to some light that was shining within. And was that all it took? Is for anyone to see him? I don't know what changed his mind and made him do what he did next. Who knows? But was it that someone actually took the courage and the time to look at him, to see him? Well, whatever he experienced, it was what he needed to make some pretty radical changes that he clearly wanted to make. It was the motivation to remedy those whom he'd cheated. It was the push to find a new job, or maybe to do the job he had with a new sense of fairness and compassion. I suspect recognizing that unity among us brings some kind of freedom to life that puts into balance our own unique selves and our crucial place in the universe, our connection to what goes beyond ourselves. It's what certainly, I think we can say, connected Jesus with Zacchaeus at that moment, at that time. And that's a powerful thing. And why shouldn't it be called salvation, as Jesus calls it? That salvation has come. Why should we not call that salvation when all of a sudden we are seen for who we are at our heart? That it saved Zacchaeus from his own future, from his own self. Now, you could see why that very thing drove some of Jesus' peers crazy with anger, especially those who saw themselves as representing the holy, or the culture, or the religion, or the social mores. Everyone from the priest to his poor Galilean family criticized him for his radical hospitality. Jesus, would you stop looking at people for who they really are? It's threatening. It probably was the beginning of the plot to end his life. Looking to see someone and the light that connects us, to see the unity of us, is dangerous business. Because we have to throw a lot of our thoughts and ideas and understandings and beliefs out the window when we do it. And no one ever feels comfortable doing that. So, we started with music. I want to end with music. Let me just share the opposite of the monotuned piano. I grew up studying classical music, and for as long as I can remember, one of my musical heroes wasn't Beethoven that we just heard, but was Bach. And Bach said this about music. These are his words. From the beginning of the 18th century. Yeah. In the architecture of my music, I want to demonstrate to the world the architecture of a new and beautiful world. What's the secret of my harmony? Each instrument is in counterpoint, and as many contrapuntal parts as there are instruments. It's the enlightened self-discipline of the various parts, each voluntarily imposing on itself the limits of its individual freedom for the well-being of the community. That's my message. Not the autocracy of a single stubborn melody on the one hand, nor the anarchy of unchecked noise on the other. No, a delicate balance between the two, an enlightened freedom. The science of my art, the art of my science, the harmony of the stars in the heavens, the yearning for brotherhood in the heart of men. This is the secret of my music. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, There he is there, with his wig on. Music, and particularly maybe not even our passive listening, but our active involvement in it, invites us into an experience of being more than the sum of our parts. We do that here when we come together. We sing, or we pretend to sing, or we mouth the words, or we stand and we're involving ourselves in something. That we're more than the sum of our parts, that we're unique lamps, but that we share the same light. It's this experience of unity that explains why we do any of that, why we sing or hum or whistle or play or whatever we can do. It expresses that which is somehow beyond. Not one voice and not unchecked noise, but the balance of the two which points to something more. It happens whenever we put the stereo on or pick up our instrument or hum a melody. Nature herself offers the pattern of community membership in her delicate harmonic resonance. We don't really have to go very far. And we have to go very far to get away from this truth of the one light. Physicists tell us that the sound that comes out of a black hole is B flat. It's 57 octaves below middle C. So our human ears can't hear it. But amazingly enough, the sound of lightning striking water is also B flat. Everything in the cosmos has its own sound, even if we can't hear it. Our human hearing puts us in the middle, somewhere in the middle. The sound coming from the planets is too low for us to hear. It's the cosmic bass. The sound of the atom is too high for us to hear. It's the cosmic treble. We are musically midway between the universe as a whole and the universe as micro. We're in the middle. And we're part of a whole that is much bigger than the parts. And what happens when we open ourselves to that reality is that we open to finding a way beyond just tolerance, a way beyond just making our way side by side, somehow bumping into each other once in a while along the way of this life. And we continue this journey of learning to accept and see that we are all resonating together, the one universal sound, and we are all shining that same light. As we all fumble and learn our way to see beyond the external, to crack the egg open, we all engage in this same soulful and spiritual practice, this whole lifelong learning that it takes for us to figure this out. But for goodness sakes, the light that we burn here on our table is the same light burning in us. And may that light burn bright as we see the diversity in each other, and then beyond that diversity in each other to something deeper, to the Comm-Unity, community that we all share. As we go, we're together and not the same. May we live to make it so in so many ways. The light that is within us goes with us, of course. We can't be without it. And yet it may not be the same as it was. Because as we glimpse new ways that the light shines, we are changed. We may not be the same person or reflect the same light. But the day is yet to be over. And so we take this light with us in its different forms and its different ways. And we go in the spirit of that light, the unity that we embody, and into the sacredness of the world that we love.